Okay, so with the summer being here, I was kind of sitting down and wondering, like, okay, what kind of books can we cover on the channel, right? And for me, I love the X-Men, but we need some different types of content on the channel that you guys may enjoy. And so I kind of sat down and realized we cover a lot of Marvel. So I kind of want to move away from Marvel a tad bit, not completely, but just a tad bit, and cover some DC content, IDW, and the list goes on. Now, with all that being said, when it comes to DC, I'm kind of lost because for me personally, I'm not a major DC fan. I love DC comics, but I don't know what comics you guys may like officially. And so for me personally, I want to play it safer right now and cover some more Batman comics. Now, I know you guys go out of your way to tell me some different books you want to see on the channel. And my goal is to cover those books, hopefully, the next few months on the channel. But with that being said, I kind of want to sit down and cover Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale work on DC Comics because these two guys came together and did a lot of Batman comics. And really, when it came to these two guys, for most people out there, they only remember one particular story, and that would be The Long Halloween. And for some people out there, they even remember the sequels that came after The Long Halloween. But here's the thing, because there were some specials the two guys did together prior to The Long Halloween in the Legends of the Dark Knight series. You see, for these two guys, they came together for 3 Halloween specials. Now, each special is kind of like 70 to 80 pages long, but each was technically a one-shot. They all told their own particular story, with Batman kind of handling his own different types of villains in Gotham City in the early days of him being Batman. And so we're going to cover the first special that Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale did together. And that would be the Halloween special called Choices. Now, there is a very good reason why it's called Choices. As a matter of fact, as we go through today's storyline, you're going to see why it's called that. But on top of that, it's also us kind of seeing Batman handling Scarecrow in the early days of Bruce Wayne being Batman. Because when it came to Legends of the Dark Knight, they were basically stories that took place in the early days of Bruce Wayne being Batman. So he's still kind of fresh and new and still trying to figure out how to be Batman, how to protect the city. And so for him, going after Scarecrow is somebody he already met, but still kind of learning how to handle a character like him. Now for Scarecrow, he's not really the main focus of this book. He's kind of used to help explain the main idea of the entire story. But a different character is kind of more important for this book rather than Scarecrow is. But it's still a Scarecrow story and also a good one. Now, as we get into the early pages of this book, it's really more the book trying to tell us right off the bat, like, what is Halloween like in Gotham City? Because for other cities across the world, like Los Angeles, Cincinnati, Detroit, they all have different things going on or how they handle Halloween when the night comes up. But for Gotham, Halloween is different. All hell breaks loose. Now, of course, this Halloween, they have to deal with Scarecrow. Now, again, with this being the early days of Bruce Wayne being Batman, Scarecrow is somebody who gives Batman a run for his money. Now, this is not me saying like the Scarecrow is no longer a big time villain. No, it's just that with him being appearing in the early days of Bruce Wayne being Batman, he's a whole lot more difficult to handle than he is right now for Bruce Wayne. Now, for Bruce Wayne being Batman, he already knows what he has to do to hopefully find Jonathan Crane's Scarecrow by going after the different people who work for him. Now, it's also kind of cool because it's Jeph Loeb and Tim Sale showing us in the early pages that Batman knows how to fight. Batman knows how to handle himself when it comes to just regular henchmen. But he also knows how to be somewhat like a detective to hopefully figure out where to find Scarecrow by just going after different people who work for the guy. Now, this kind of leads us into us learning what is Scarecrow's plan here. And we learned that for the Scarecrow, what he is trying to do is knock out different relay stations across Gotham to knock out the power in those different areas of Gotham. Because once the power goes out, you have people freaking out in the middle of the night, scared of the dark. And you have Scarecrow and his crew being able to move in the dark and steal different items from those people who had lost power. Now for Batman, he's kind of like, okay, cool, I found Scarecrow. Now it's time for me to go ahead and just take him out. Now, for Scarecrow, as we all know, he does use fear toxin as a way to bring the worst fears out of people. And so for Scarecrow, he believes that he has a new toxin that could possibly work on Batman. And so once he tries to give Batman a huge dose of his new toxin, you have Batman just being able to walk through the cloud of the toxin and just knock out Scarecrow in one single punch. But right after you have Bruce being able to handle the Scarecrow, well, you didn't have Jim Gordon appear. Now, this is the early days of Jim and Batman being allies. It's also Jim trying to continue to build that bond with Batman. Matter of fact, he's kind of like, hey, you know, Batman, there's a party tonight over at Bruce Wayne's place. Like, you should come by. It's a Halloween party, so you can go ahead and dress like you are right now and still join the rest of us. But it's Batman kind of like, wait, that's right. There's a party going on at my home today. I need to get home. Now, for Bruce Wayne, he told us in the early pages of this book that it has been days since he last slept. So the dude is very tired, but unfortunately, he has to continue on because those guests are coming very soon. And so as we transition over to Wayne Manor, we're kind of picking up with Alfred just trying his best to say like, hey, Bruce, go ahead and cancel this event because honestly, you're exhausted, you look tired, and you need to get some rest. But of course, for Bruce Wayne, he has to continue on. And so you do have all these different guests arrive. Now, when they all arrive, at first, it's Bruce Wayne being able to mingle with all the different people who are kind of like higher up people in the city of Gotham. But with him being able to be there at this party, he's still able to collect information on what's happening in the city. But for Bruce Wayne, you didn't have him be confronted by this young woman. Now, she will play a very important role for the rest of this book. Now, for a brief moment, you do have basically Scarecrow being able to break out of police custody. And so just like that, he's back on the loose again, but we kind of have to shift our focus back over to the party. And the reason why, because we do pick up with Batman still dancing with this young lady. Now, we don't get a chance to learn her name here in these 2 pages, but we also kind of see that it's Bruce Wayne trying his best to figure out who she is, but she's not trying to give him that information. Now, she brought dogs to the party, and of course, they made a mess in the library of Bruce Wayne's home. Now, for Bruce, he's kind of like, it's okay, you know what? I gotta go anyways. And the reason why, because the light has been turned on, calling out to Batman. Now, you have the 2 dogs kind of messing around with the old clock in the library. As we all know, that clock leads into the Batcave. But luckily for Bruce and Alfred, you know, these 2 were able to see the dogs not being able to get into that secret passageway. Now, by the time you have Bruce Wayne get back out there in Gotham to be Batman, the Scarecrow had already attacked another relay station. And so with him doing that, unfortunately, another part of Gotham had just lost power. People are freaking out. People are scared of the dark. But it allows the henchmen of Scarecrow to go out of their way to rob those people who are freaking out at the moment. Now, for Batman, he does go out of his way to chase down 2 guys. But these 2 guys should be easy for Batman. And the reason why, because these 2 guys are amateurs. But the problem is Batman is exhausted. The dude is tired. And so these guys were able to kind of get the upper hand on Bruce Wayne. And one of them actually cuts Batman. And so for Bruce, it's him realizing how tired he truly is, because these 2 guys should have been knocked out in a matter of seconds. And so you have Bruce Wayne go home. Now, you can tell the man is completely exhausted because as he works his way up to his room, he takes off every single piece of clothing he has for the Batman outfit just on the staircase. Kind of like, hey, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Alfred, pick those up. But also, Alfred, bring me a jelly donut. Now, once you do have Bruce being able to relax, he believes it's Alfred bringing him that donut. Instead, it's that same young lady we saw earlier walking into his room. Now, we do learn her name here. Her name is Jillian Maxwell. Now, as we kind of get into the second chapter of the storyline, we're really picking up with Bruce Wayne being Batman. Now, while he's out there being Batman, it's also Bruce kind of remembering the conversation he had with Jillian that took place right after she had walked into his room. Now, don't worry, we're going to transition back to that moment, but it's also Bruce kind of remembering that when it came to his father would always just leave in the middle of the night. And the reason why, because dad was a doctor, a surgeon. And so if there was an emergency, his father had to leave. Now, while you have Bruce Wayne just out there being Batman, looking at Gotham City, he's then attacked by all these different crows. Now, for Batman, realize that these crows are somehow being affected by Scarecrow's fear toxin. Like, their behavior has been chemically altered. But you do have these crows begin to attack Batman, and he begins to fall, what seems to be his death. But getting back over to the conversation that took place between Bruce Wayne and also Jillian, now technically in the past, is really more of her being this mysterious character. Now, we do learn that she snuck her way into his room, basically into his house, because Alfred walks in kind of like, yo, how in the world did you get in here? And why in the world are you here? Now, you do have Bruce Wayne go ahead and take her to the patio to kind of hopefully learn more about her. But that's the thing. She's not really trying to share much information about herself. And really, it's more of her kind of asking Bruce Wayne these different types of questions. Some where Bruce does not fully understand, but Alfred does. She's kind of like, hey, Bruce, were you ever bit by a dead bee? And for Bruce, he's kind of like, no, it's a dead bee. But for Alfred, he kind of understands what she's kind of asking here because it's an old movie line. Now, for Bruce Wayne, he still wants to know more about her. He's kind of like, hey, Alfred, you know what? Let me go ahead and just take her out for the evening and kind of figure out who she is, because something about her is calling to me. And of course, is Bruce Wayne slowly falling in love once again with a different woman. Now, for Bruce Wayne, he does take her on a stroll throughout the park. Now, instead of Bruce Wayne trying to learn more about her, it's now her trying to learn more about him. Like, what does he like to do? Politics? No. Traveling? No. Does he have any girlfriends in his life? Again, no. But it's the two characters trying to get a feel for one another, but really more her trying to figure out more about Bruce Wayne because, yes, he's very mysterious, but she does have another reason. Now, here's the thing, because while you have the two just taking their stroll in the middle of the park, you do have this random thug try to rob her. Technically, he does. But for Bruce Wayne, he wants to make a move, but she says, don't, Bruce. It's just money. It's not worth your life. Now, for her, it's also her saying, like, stay here and let the police try to handle this on their own. And so once you do have the two characters being able to make it back over to Wayne Manor, she wants to stay with Bruce Wayne overnight. But Bruce is kind of like, hey, listen, you can't stay. I gotta work. Even though it's Saturday, I just can't stop. Now, of course, it's Bruce Wayne not giving her the actual reason of what he has to do, being Batman. But while you do have Bruce walking to Wayne Manor, Alfred confronts him and say, hey, the police just called and they were able to get her wallet back for her. Like, what happened at the park? But for Bruce Wayne, it's it's really more of him kind of realizing what she said could possibly be true. Like, hey, you don't have to go out there and risk your life every single night. Let the police try their best to handle different situations, because the police is capable of handling different things, like somebody being a purse snatcher. And so for Bruce, for a brief moment, is him kind of thinking like, maybe I should not go out for the night. Then he said, you know what? Let me go ahead and go out and be Batman. And so as we jump back over to the present day, we're picking up with Scarecrow. Now for Scarecrow, the Crows are able to hand him the piece of clothing he took from Batman. Of course, it's his bat symbol. And so for Scarecrow, he's kind of like, okay, you know what? Did you get my prize? Yes, you did. I wanted the bat symbol, and I'm hoping he didn't follow you. But of course, Batman did. And this kind of leads into a whole chase scene between these two characters. Now, the chase does lead Batman and Scarecrow over to the Gotham Central Park maze. Now, here's the thing, because we do learn here that the park should have been closed many years ago. And the reason why, because two kids actually got lost in the middle of the maze. And when they were found unalived. Now, with that being said, for Batman, he continues to chase after Scarecrow, but then kind of gets hit by some thorns. Now, these thorns, they're poisonous. And so, of course, this begins to affect Batman. Now, back at Wayne Manor, we do see that once again, Jillian was able to find her way into Wayne Manor, but once again, uninvited. And this time, she's in the office of Bruce Wayne. Now, for Alfred, he catches her and sends her on her way. But is Alfred kind of like, there's something wrong about this woman. Who in the world is she? And we kind of see here for Alfred that he was able to use the Bat computer to figure out that the CIA is currently looking for her. Really, the FBI as well, too. But for Alfred, we kind of learned that he did find some information about her, but unfortunately, we're not really able to learn what that information is all about. But right after that, you then have Bruce Wayne return back home to the manor. Now, when he does, of course, he comes in the Batmobile, but barely making it because he's been poisoned by the thorns. And so you do have Alfred get Bruce out of the car, up the stairs, out of his bat outfit. Now, while you have Alfred hoping the antidote will actually save Bruce Wayne's life, we go into Bruce Wayne's mind. Now, as we do, we see him continuing to chase after Scarecrow through a maze, but this time in a church. Now, once you do have Bruce Wayne being able to make it through that maze, he's then confronted by Jillian in a wedding dress, where we're kind of left to believe that it's the two characters getting married. Now remember, for Scarecrow, his whole idea is to bring the worst fears out of you. So we're kind of left to wonder, is there a possibility that Bruce Wayne is scared to fall in love? Or is he scared to never find love at all? And so for Bruce Wayne, with this kind of dream happening, it's kind of like it's telling him, go ahead, be with Jillian. She could be the one for you. Now, once you do have Bruce Wayne wake up, he is confronted by Alfred at first. Now, the reason why I say at first, because, well, Jillian is also there as well. Once again, this woman had found her way into his home. Now, Alfred is unable to tell Bruce Wayne what he wants to tell him about Jillian. And so you do have Bruce say, hey, Alfred, I need you to leave, because with the dream he just had, is Bruce kind of saying like maybe he should be Batman less, or officially give up the idea of being Batman and try to pursue a life with Jillian. And so it's him now asking her like, will you come with me on a trip? It's him beginning to abandon the idea of Batman. Now, the bat signal, it's been lit up once again, but Batman is not coming to Jim Gordon's side to help out, because remember earlier, it was Jillian who told Batman, you don't always have to go out of your way to risk your life. Like sometimes the police can handle things on their own. It's Bruce saying like, it's now time for you guys to handle things on your own. Go ahead and try your best to handle the Scarecrow. The problem is that when you have Jim and also his officer trying to leave the bat signal behind and go back inside, well, you didn't have Jim Gordon get jumped by Scarecrow. And so just like that, Jim Gordon is now a hostage that belongs to Scarecrow. Now, before you have Batman being able to, leave for this trip with Jillian, you have Alfred finally being able to give Batman what he'd been wanting to give Batman, information about Jillian. Now, Bruce is upset with what Alfred did, but it's Alfred saying, like, when you care for somebody, you do things they may not like at all as a way to protect them. And right now, it's one of those times. Like, you have to look at the info that I was able to gather about her. Now, we do see Bruce leave for the night to go be Batman once again. Now, we're kind of left to believe, like, okay, this is Bruce Wayne maybe finally stopping to be Batman. But no, that's not the case, because once you do have Bruce arrive at the clock tower as Batman to save Jim Gordon, to take down Scarecrow, it's Batman now telling us that Scarecrow's toxin had reached into the mind of Batman, pulling out like the worst fears of Bruce Wayne, which right now it seems like to be lonely, to not be able to achieve love. But also he was very tempted to leave behind the Batman life, to ignore the bat signal, to hopefully reach what he wanted in his life, which is, again, love. But you do have Bruce Wayne being able to bring down the Scarecrow. Now, the following day, it's Jillian trying to arrive at Bruce Wayne's house to go on this trip, but Alfred stops her. And the reason why, because we learn here that apparently for Jillian, she had been using different names over the years, but with each name that she used, she always married some rich man. But the problem is the husbands that she married over the years, they had always died. Now, all their deaths have been labeled as accidents, but the question is, were they truly accidents at all? And Bruce Wayne was her next target. And so you have Alfred said, no, you can go home. And we see Alfred go in the Batcave, and Bruce had looked at that information that Alfred had gathered and realized that Jillian was the wrong move to make there when it came to him trying to find love. Now, the next page kind of tells us why the book is called Choices, because you have Bruce Wayne say, he learned something over this Halloween weekend. I thought that I didn't have a choice about being the Batman, that Gotham City chose me to protect her. That is wrong. Ever since the night my parents were taken from me, I made the choice. It means that some of my heart desires may go unfilled, but many more are satisfied. It is a good choice. Now, for Jillian, it does look like she already moved on to somebody else. As a matter of fact, she's already using a different name and married somebody else, a rich man. And she already planned to kill off the man in a supposed accident once again. But the problem is she's then confronted by a shadow figure who hands her a small note with a bat symbol drawn on it. But in the middle of the bat symbol, it literally says, confess. And this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.